Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and
your co-host, Carissa Crossman.
Perfect. There you go. So everyone, welcome into today's program. Today on the show, we have the one, the only, the venerable Mr. Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent. He'll be joining us here in just a moment to talk all things science, techie, stories that you may not have heard of, but hey, they're all very fascinating. And if you have any interest in kind of what the future holds, or even better, what the present holds, then hey, you're definitely going to want to check out today's show. So with, there's that, of course, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including the show notes, which will have all the stories that we talk about, all the videos that we show, anything that we really do here on the program, you can find at computeramerica.com underneath today's show notes. While you're there, you'll also find a link to our guest website where Ralph has, he does a very good job of keeping things updated and, just making sure that everything, kind of, if you are like Ralph-centric, you can find everything right there on his website, and we highly encourage you to go check that out. And of course, he does other things, including other radio shows, and he's, just a very interesting gentleman to follow. So we encourage you to go do that. So with that being said, also find their podcasts, video archives, audio archives, as well as links to social media. And I think with that being said, Carissa, how you doing?
Pretty okay. How are you?
Not bad. Friday. It is here just in the nick of time. I didn't know when it was going to get here, but yeah, exactly. So Friday, obviously, and actually I should mention this. I've been remiss to mention this all week, and I need to check my calendar to make sure that yes, October 12th is the one, the only Indigenous Peoples Day, which I guess is starting to replace Columbus Day. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, I know. Columbus Day, and I'm not sure how far it's made it into school curriculums, but Columbus has been slowly getting pushed out of the limelight, and now we're looking at, the Indigenous Peoples Day. So that's a good transition. And of course, I think Leif Erikson Day is also on the 12th as well. Anyways, I bring all this up because, is it Leif Erikson or Leif Erikson?
I think it's Leif.
Leif.
Well,
whatever it is, we have that day off. Computer America takes that day off. The studio is closed. The broadcasting, the people, the little gremlins behind the scenes, they don't broadcast then, so we don't either. So
Ben, today's Leif Erikson Day.
Today is Leif Erikson Day. Thank you for double checking that. I knew it was so close, and I thought and I thought that they kind of lined up better than that. But okay, so happy Leif Erikson Day to everyone out there.
Happy Leif Erikson Day.
I hope that you get your kazoos out and you do the appropriate Leif Erikson celebrations. And the main point is the 12th, Monday, there will be no live Computer America show, and instead we will be doing a rerun, and then on the 13th we should have a guest called Edifer. Or I should say, Edifier. I think is the proper way to say that. So it's, Tuesday, we'll be back, fresh show, everything good to go, so don't panic on Monday. Now, with that being said, enough stalling for time. Let's go and get our guest on, because as I said before, Ralph Bond, he is a longtime Computer America correspondent, had long stints with Intel, long stints with Autodesk, and now he has his longest stint here with Computer America. So, Ralph, welcome back onto the program. How you doing?
Always great to be here. Always great to end this insane week of news in general with upbeat technology and science trend news. So this is a good way to end the week.
Absolutely. Yeah. There, you definitely picked out a lot of really great ones. And if you wouldn't mind, let's go ahead and just tell the nice people out there what it is that you try to accomplish by, kind of digging up these stories. Because as I said before, a lot of people may not have even heard of a lot of these.
Well, exactly. So what I do is I constantly kind of troll the news services and so forth.
Troll the internet, Ralph. You're not supposed to do that. It's bad.
Oh, no, we're not that kind of trolling.
Okay.
Well, let's scan. How about scam? Observe.
Surf the web.
Hey, wait a minute. Explore. That's even softer. I explore, like Leif Erikson. I explore the internet looking for interesting science and technology stories. And as you pointed out, Ben, and as you both know, a lot of times there's stories that never make it never bubble up to the big mainstream press coverage, understandably, because they're sometimes a little obscure. Some of the stories are kind of wacky and goofy. Some are very profound. And I like to look for those things that, again, a lot of people may not be aware of. So I think what we're doing with this show here is very helpful.
Absolutely. And there's so much to cover. As I said before, these will be in the show notes, but as we always say here, odds are we're not going to get to them all. And that's perfectly okay, because they will be still included in the show notes. And but we're going to do our best, and we're just going to have fun with it. So let's go ahead and get started. I think no other way than to just start with story number 1.
Yeah, there we go. So we've got to do something for coronavirus. That's kind of a requirement. And we have a couple of stories in the package today. First one, though, headline, new graphene mask knocks out 2 species of coronavirus. Now, I picked this up from SciTech Daily, but also from a press release from the City University of Hong Kong. So it's a really kind of a fun, interesting story. You can see the photo if you have the show notes up on your screen. You can see the photo of the researcher here holding up the mask in question. So a research team from the City University of Hong Kong has successfully produced graphene face masks with an antibacterial efficiency of 80%. And here's what's really curious to me. When you expose the mask to sunlight for 10 minutes, it jumps up to 100% antibacterial efficiency. That's
amazing.
Isn't that something that's really, really kind of interesting? And I don't know all the science behind that exactly. The article didn't go into that kind of depth, but it's very intriguing. And the researchers, here's another thing that's so important. The researchers report that this new graphene mask they've developed will be inexpensive to produce. And I'm going to jump ahead on the notes and also mention they are going to look for a way to make it reusable. So not only inexpensive, but reusable. But wait a minute, antibacterial, that's great, but how is it going to help us fight COVID-19? Here's the scoop. The team is currently working to test the new graphene masks with 2 pre-COVID-19 species of coronavirus. Folks, if you're not aware of this, coronavirus is not new. There's been previous species, or, well, I guess you could call it generations of coronavirus. COVID-19 for the year 2019 is the nemesis we're currently facing. Okay, with that said, initial tests showed that the new graphene mask could knock out 90% of the 2 legacy coronaviruses in 5 minutes and almost 100% in 10 minutes under sunlight. And next up, of course, the team plans to start conducting tests with the COVID-19 virus. Part of me thinks, why didn't they just go right to the COVID-19 virus to begin with? But let that be as it may. And if they're successful, they plan to develop a way to make the new masks reusable, as I mentioned before, and they hope to release the new graphene masks as soon as they obtain required certifications. And I'm going to guess maybe by the end of this year or early part of next year. So keep your fingers crossed. This could be a very important advancement for PPE.
Yeah. So my initial response to one of your points there was, why not jump directly to COVID-19? Unfortunately, we still don't have a full-blown vaccine for it. So working with COVID-19 itself is probably a little, not advisable. Whereas
Dangerous.
yeah, exactly. And previous, I was supposed to say iterations, but previous COVID viruses, we have a vaccine for those. We can cure those, and we can vaccinate against those.
Point.
So you can work with those and not really worry too much about actually contracting the virus that you're working with, especially if face mask and breathing and all that good stuff. The only thing that I'm really curious about, which is we have heard of graphene, Ralph, about as long as we have been on the show together.
Yes.
Now, the one word I've never heard of with graphene is cheap or affordable. And that's something that this, kind of claims, where it's affordable and it's very effective. I've never heard of carbon graphene. There we go. Graphene being affordable, and I'm wondering how they were able to do that. That's
yeah. It does beg a lot of questions, to be honest with you. I think the source is pretty credible. The City University of Hong Kong is not a weirdo outfit. So we'll see. Let's see what happens end of this year, maybe early part of next year. If it comes back up to the surface as something that's really true and deliverable, then if we can reverse engineer and figure out how did they make this graphene process affordable.
Yeah, and of course, one of the biggest things is that even if this comes after we have a handle, fingers crossed, on COVID-19, of course, there is, as much as we don't want to think about it, there may be another virus somewhere out there looming that, hey, if it can happen once, it can happen again. So getting good defenses against these things now will benefit us in the future. And unfortunately, you have to wait till... what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. And we have a dire need for these things. So very cool with the research that they're doing. Ralph, right off the bat, you picked one that I had not even heard of. So good job.
I'm wondering if you can use that material for something else, like if you used it as covering for, handrails or something like that were out in the sun. And that would help limit transmission too, because if it's just constantly being, sitting in the sun with that 100% accuracy.
Well, and of course, to pick up on your point, what if you made PPE gowns? And so forth for workers? How for example, we're doing our flu vaccines in car drive up deals, and the workers are going to be exposed in part to the sun, so it could accentuate the protective nature of the gear. So you're right. There's a lot of interesting twists and possibilities. If these masks are successful, if they're truly inexpensive to make somehow, some way, expand it into garments and so forth for the workers. And who knows?
Even gloves,
Yeah, gloves. Yes.
It looks like part of this article here that you might have highlighted, but I missed, was Dr. You pointed out that producing laser-induced graphene, which is probably different than graphene nanotubes that we've been talking about. They said within just 1.5 minutes, an area of about 100 centimeters squared could be converted into graphene as the outer or inner layer of the mask.
There you go.
So whatever, and we're not going to get into what exactly laser-induced graphene is, but it looks like that's how they achieve it. It's not traditional graphene. One.
Yeah, it's pretty out there stuff.
It really is. It really is. Story number 2, and right up in your neck of the woods. What is this?
Yay for Oregon. Yay for Portland. Here's some good news from Portland instead of riots and burning
fires
and craziness, right? Anyway, good news. A headline: Oregon-based NuScale Power makes history as the first small modular reactor to receive U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission design approval. I picked this up. It actually was in the Oregonian, which is our big local Portland newspaper. I saw it first there, but then I did research by really going to the NuScale Power company website and looking at their press release. And I actually had some correspondence with a few of their people at the company to put this story all together. And if you have the show notes, folks, if you're lucky enough to have them in front of you, you see a beautiful artist's rendition of a NuScale power plant setup. Now, let me explain very quickly. That image shows what a 30-acre installment would look like with 12 of these small reactors all tied together working in concert. So that's what that image is all about. But let me get into the story here. Late last month, Portland, Oregon-based NuScale Power announced that the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission completed the final phase of the design certification application for the company's groundbreaking small modular reactor. Okay, so let's explain what this reactor is all about. So NuScale Power has developed a new modular light water reactor power plant to supply energy for, of course, generating electricity or desalination and many other applications. It uses a safer, smaller, and scalable version of the pressurized water reactor technology used in the majority of the world's large-scale nuclear power plants. This groundbreaking small modular reactor offers a power module capable of generating 60 megawatts of electricity. And this solution is very cost efficient. And this I got from the team outside of their press release. A NuScale Power modular reactor would cost about $3,600 per kilowatt, as compared to what is often more than $9,000 per kilowatt for today's large nuclear plants. And check this out. I love this idea. And this kind of goes back to the image that's shown with the story too. One innovative idea promoted by the NuScale Power team would be to replace a coal power plant by combining up to 12 NuScale Power modules on a small land area. Now, the image in the picture there is about a 30-acre parcel of land. And such an installation could reuse some of the coal plant's water cooling systems and other infrastructure components. So I just thought, even if this hadn't been a local story for me here in Oregon, I thought it had some really interesting possibilities, especially with this idea of converting coal plants and not having to build gargantuan, massive nuclear plant, right? And instead having these small modular units that could go up to 12 daisy chained together.
That is super important. I mean, I found this is from energy.gov, and I was just trying to search it real quick, but then Ralph, you read faster than I can search. Yeah, so this is let's see, so capacity factor by energy source, and then this kind of gets into the cost of it. And one of the problems is that kind of natural gas and coal, very cheap to run, and the fuel sources are very inexpensive. Obviously, that doesn't get into the whole kind of emissions and kind of greenhouse effect and that kind of thing. Nuclear is very, very safe, very efficient, that kind of thing. It's just super expensive. So anything that cuts that cost down, and like you said, in some cases this is like over half, huge win for nuclear plants.
I think so too. Yes, and again, the idea that there's small modules, you could have just one. Or you can, gang up to 12 of them if you want, depending on what your goal is for energy generation. So really fun story, I thought.
Do you want one of these in your backyard, Ralph? You almost sounded like you want one. Just run it in your spare time.
Well, I suppose they'll probably do maybe an installation here in Oregon. So you could sort of kind of say it'll be in my backyard. We'll see.
I'm wondering how long, and you might have said this in your notes, how long did they say that one of these would take to build? Because that's another kind of drawback of a nuclear plant is like, even to get permission to build one, like let's say if you magically got approved, for the first time in 30 years to build one, to build a large scale one takes like 30 years plus to even build it before it starts doing anything. If you look at their website, dive into their information and so forth, one of the things that, and this partly answers your question, is that these power modules, they are they say fully factory fabricated. So it's kind of like a drop into place solution. Now, I don't want to minimize what you're saying. You're absolutely correct. There's many things that I didn't get a chance to go into super detail with. Well, I'm talking about like larger scale. It takes a long time. I don't know.
Well, yes, it does. And I can speak to that from childhood experience.
Yeah.
Google San Onofre nuclear power plant. San Onofre, California. I
will have to Google how to spell San Onofre, and then I will find that.
S-A-N. Now I'm embarrassed. Anyway, San Onofre, that's how you say it. When I was a kid, I mean, like 10 years old or something, I grew up in San Clemente, California, which is the southernmost city in Orange County, California, just north of the Camp Pendleton base for the Marine Corps. They built a nuclear power plant there a very long time ago. San
Onofre Nuclear Generating Station is a permanently closed nuclear power plant in San Clemente, California. So
there it is. So when they were putting that thing together, they took over a bank building, or a bank had been in this building, and they converted it into a museum, or if you will, to explain to the local population what the heck this plant is, what it's going to do, how long it's going to take to make. So you're right, it took years to make that plant, but that's why this story in part kind of tugged on my childhood strings of memory.
Right.
Yeah,
but and I'm sure that Aaron could probably speak to this better than I could. My brother, he's pretty big into nuclear energy as well, and really as a chemist, he could probably speak to it better. But I am fully behind the idea that we need nuclear power. It can be really safe. It's really efficient. It's all good stuff. It's just the cost is so high. So innovations like these, you love to hear them. So perfect.
Yeah, couldn't hurt. And we'll see. Time will tell. This is kind of a fledgling deal right now. They've gotten this approval from the regulatory commission. So, we'll see. We'll have to watch this company over time. And there'll be others, I'm sure, that'll get onto this same kind of approach.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Are these going to be, because they're modular, are they also like mobile? Could you pick them up and move them if somebody doesn't like where they are?
That's really interesting. But Carissa, what I'm going to guess is, to Ben's point earlier, there's infrastructure related to it that probably would make that kind of mobility difficult. However, we all know we have nuclear powered submarines, so there is some ability to condense this all down, and I just realized maybe their inspiration for these units came from the kind of technology that's used to make our subs work. So TBD.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely have to give a shout out to Unpicky Eater in the chat room for he was saying that, Ralph, you used the word daisy chain, as in you could daisy chain these together to to generate more electricity. And maybe. I guess daisy chain is actually from the nuclear idea that as a fission happens, it daisy chains out and the reaction gets bigger and bigger and bigger and causes that cascading effect. So
I don't think I meant it that way. I meant it more like in the old computer school idea of, like, say, multiple hard drives, just all working in concert. So
within sequence, right? But either way, it worked out well that way. So kudos to that. And so with and real quick, possible that companies use this tech to power their own infrastructure. Yeah. So, and then of course that also leads to I could imagine like the Department of Energy might be interested in something like this, or larger corporations. I'm trying to think of one large enough that would kind of warrant its own nuclear power plant. I don't know, maybe Microsoft just goes completely off the grid, maybe orbits space, puts their their HQ up in a satellite and lords over us like the tech giants that they are. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you an example, Ben and Carissa. I'm in Hillsboro, Oregon, and Hillsboro, Oregon is the home for Intel Corporation's most massive chip production plants. I mean, the R&D and production that goes on little old Hillsboro, Oregon is like world important, okay?
Yeah.
And why not have some of these miniature reactors to help power all of the massive amount of electricity that's needed for these plants that are just like 3 miles from where I'm talking to you right now?
Yeah, it's being able to disperse your energy grid is also very important. That's from other segments that are like cybersecurity focused that we do here on the show. The energy grid is something that is of great concern. So yeah,
good point.
But hey, we're not here to concern people. We're here to uplift them. And everyone, you may one day own your own nuclear power plant. That is the gist of this, from what I can tell. Story number 3, before Ralph corrects me. Story number 3. BioLoop, which, I guess we all have one of these in our stomachs, but hopefully it produces something even better. What is a BioLoop?
Yeah, actually, I will modify the headline to make it a little more user-friendly. A new biodegradable algae-based flip-flops to help reduce landfill and ocean waste. Now, I got this from scitechdaily.com and also did some more research through a press release from the University of California, San Diego. So this is just a fun kind of story. We went from the deeply profound nuclear power to this story about flip-flops, but actually this in its own way is very important, I think. So as the world's most popular shoe, I never thought, if someone said to me, what's the world's most popular shoe? I would have said, I don't know, a tennis shoe or something. No, flip-flops. So as the world's most, isn't that something? Yeah, well, it does. When you think about Asia and all the third world countries where possibly a flip-flop is the only thing people can afford, you start to go, oh, okay, I get it. Anyway, as the world's most popular shoe, flip-flops account for a troubling percentage of plastic waste that ends up in our landfills and in our oceans. So scientists at the University of California, San Diego, they've been spending years working on a way to resolve this problem. And now they've taken a step further toward accomplishing the mission. They're not there 100%, but they're getting there. So leveraging advanced chemistry, the team of researchers formulated polyurethane foams made from algae oil that meet commercial specifications for midsole shoes and the footbed of flip-flops. And their commercial quality foams can biodegrade in the land or ocean environment. Hooray. Now today, the team's biodegradable foams offer 52% bio content, but their goal soon is to reach 100% bio content. So this is, boy, if we can just carry this kind of research to other forms of plastics and synthetics and so forth and get them so they will degrade, it would be just such a blessing. But this is a nice step forward.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There was a news article that came out today. I don't know if you saw that. It made the rounds that recycling in general, like over the past 10 years, was unfortunately something that was kind of a myth sold to the American public. And it's unfortunate because instead of making, plastics that are biodegradable and will actually break down, whatever, I think they said like only about 10% of the plastic that has been ever used or produced has actually been recycled. That leaves 90% that's still floating out there, either in landfills, in the ocean, whatever. Yeah. And, plastic does not really recycle well, and we don't really recycle it. So I think attacking the problem from making sure that, hey, it lasts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years while we're using it, but then when it's exposed to the elements, it actually breaks down and it doesn't harm the environment. This is the right way to treat plastic.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And if you want to really, really get sick to your stomach, Google the, I don't know what the right words would be. Out in the Pacific Ocean, there is a
Are you talking about the Great
massive
Plastic Vortex or whatever?
Yes. Well, there's this huge, isn't it the size of Texas or some horrifying thing where all this plastic waste is
Pacific
floating on the
Patch.
Surface of the ocean, right? You know what I'm talking about.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And there's actually, and even right here, there's actually 5
There you
of them.
go.
Because ocean currents, the way that they behave, they're right there. Yeah,
terrible.
It's but we're getting a handle on it. It's obviously awareness is key, and hey, we're gonna get a handle on it. I don't want people to feel sad. We're gonna do better and stuff.
Not
like
on
this.
Friday. No sadness today.
Absolutely, and hey, we're gonna be able to do this one flip flop at a time. We're gonna get a handle or a foot on this. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and continue on. Researchers. Ralph, I'll let you go ahead and do it. Story number 4.
Sure. Okay. This one's very uplifting. If it all holds up, if it all really works, and it looks like it's promising. So, headline here is researchers ready world first vision restoration device for human clinical trials. So
yes.
This is at the starting phase, folks. Got this from TechCrunch, a story by Daryl Etherington. There's a link there for that. But also I went out and did a little more research going to the Monash University press release. Monash, you'll find out, is in Australia, and there's a link there as well. And there's an image of these tiles or chip-like things that they've implanted in the brain and a close-up of one of the tiles. But let me get into the story. So, scientists at Australia's Monash University, yay, down under, have produced a first-of-its-kind device that can restore vision to the blind. So they claim, okay, folks, this is their claim. The breakthrough approach uses a combination of smartphone-style electronics and brain-implanted microelectrodes. This new technology would be able to bypass the damaged optic nerves that are often responsible for what is defined as clinical blindness. And this is fun. Here's what the system includes: a custom designed headgear with a camera and wireless transmitter, then a vision processor unit and software, and then a set of 9 by 9 millimeter tiles, or chips if you wish, that are implanted into the brain. Okay, these tiles convert the image. Say what?
I said, well, that'll feel good. Give you a little itch.
I'll tell you what, if it enables a blind person to have some kind of sight, it probably is worth the effort.
True.
These tiles convert the image data to electrical impulses, which are then transmitted to neurons in the brain via microelectrodes that are thinner than a human hair. And the system creates a visual pattern from combinations of up to 172 spots of light. So we're not talking about TV quality supervision here, right, folks? The visual patterns enable the user to navigate indoor and outdoor environments and recognize the presence of people and objects around them. So once again, they're not trying to claim you have vision comparable to what you and Carissa and I are fortunate enough to have, right? The system, has already been shown to work in trials on sheep. No surprise, this is from Australia, right? So it's got to be trials on sheep. And researchers are now preparing for a first human clinical trial to take place in Melbourne. Now, right off the top, the question I had is it safe? And they say early studies, which saw 10 of these arrays implanted in sheep brains, show that there were no adverse health effects. So they're going to go into the human clinical trials. Keep your fingers crossed. If anyone out there is severely, clinically blind, there may be hope that you could get some kind of vision that it would allow you to at least, recognize the shape of humans, recognize the shapes and depth and what's going on in a room, and be able to navigate indoor and outdoor environments. This could be hugely helpful.
And of course, not to minimize the important work that they're doing, but I think we have like a visual approximation of what this would look like when it actually happens. There you go. And obviously, like you said, this is going to, and by the way, if that looks like it's from 1983, that's because it's footage from RoboCop. So for everyone else out there, like you said, Ralph, it has to do with an unmet need. And like you said, it's, right now, nothing works for these people who are unfortunately blind. So any improvement is better than, what we wouldn't expect is vision. So, yeah. So before I have to pay for the RoboCop movie, let's take that down. But I'm very excited, and like they said, this is something that Elon Musk kind of touched on with his Neuralink, which was a very exciting. And look, the fact that they're already moving on to human trials and Elon Musk was still on, I guess, kind of the pig trials. I mean, hey, technology is moving faster and faster. I hadn't heard anything about this about 3 months ago, and now I've heard two different people really, really close to restoring people's vision. That's what I love about technology, is that it advances so quickly in helpful ways sometimes.
Yeah, Ben and Carissa. And again, to stress, restoring an element of vision, enough to be able to navigate and recognize the shape of human beings and so forth and so on. So again, I want to caution everybody, we're not talking about full restoration of vision, but my golly, if you're blind and suddenly you can at least see the shape of your loved ones or people in a store, or you can even go to a store and navigate around, holy smokes, how wonderful, right? And this could be combined with your seeing eye dog and your stick and all these things. It's not going to get rid of it, but would augment and help so much. It's just very exciting.
Right. Even the difference between daylight, nighttime, and, wall door. I mean, even basic things like that.
Amen.
My mom tells the story sometimes about helping one of her friends who was blind, and she was walking him around, and she said something as simple as like, there are stairs coming up, and he kind of had to stop, and he was like, are you going to let me guess, or are they stairs up or down? And like, it's little things like that you don't think about, that even like a little bit of vision would, help immensely. So there you go.
So true.
Uplifting indeed. So there you go. Story number 4. Story number 5. I know that you said seeing eye dog, but hey, we are seeing a dog here. And I've even heard a little bit about this. I'm not sure how effective they are, but I know they are being used, which is great to hear.
Yes. And friends, at the beginning we talked about, we never get through all the stories. I think I have 15 stories on the plate here for us today, and we're on story 5, and we're past the halfway point, but that's okay. you can go back to the show notes, and it's sort of like, I hope, fun homework for you to go and check out later if we don't get to all the stories today. Story number 5 from Fast Companies by Mark Wilson. Headline: There's a new weapon against COVID-19, and it's dogs.
Excellent.
Gotta love that. Yay for dogs. Now, to help prevent coronavirus exposure, I think we all know this, many airports around the world are limiting access, and it says here LA International, Los Angeles International, for example, does temperature screenings to catch sick travelers before they pass through security, but we all know that that's kind of a limited thing in terms of its effectiveness. But here's the story. But now, Finland's Helsinki airport is doing one better. They have hired a team of dogs trained to sniff out COVID-19 to screen passengers. What? Okay. I forgot this, that dogs have already been proven to have the ability to sniff out diseases. This is just so far out, ranging from cancer to malaria. I had heard about that, but I kind of forgot about that. And I still marvel at the fact that dogs can do this. But here's a fun dog biology factoid that maybe helps explain it. With 220 million scent receptors versus the 5 million receptors we humans have, dogs have a sense of smell that's 10,000 times more accurate than our own. It explains a lot of my dog's behavior when my wife and I take her out for a walk every day. Every couple of steps, it's stop, sniffy, sniffy, sniff.
Well, you got to figure that every mailbox is like a whole new Facebook page with all different news of who was there and what was happening. I do have to, and I don't claim to be an expert on this, but one thing that I've heard about dogs' noses, and by the way, human noses are very, very sensitive as well. I don't want to downplay how powerful humans are, and so for dogs to be even more powerful, that's great. But one thing I wanted to just kind of mention to everyone, because this is something that a lot of people get wrong, is that dogs' scent receptors, like they're obviously their noses are much bigger. They have a lot more receptors, but their receptors are pretty much the same as humans. So they don't think of it not as like a microscope. Like they're not smelling like specifically, they're smelling wider than humans. Like
interesting.
Imagine like, humans may smell like a circle that big. Dogs would smell a much, much, much larger circle. So it's not that they smell things more intensely. It's just that they smell that thing, and then they also smell everything else in the room. So that's something that I wanted to, and of course that helps in situations like this, where obviously a very, very tiny bit of COVID may be washed out to humans, among everything else that we smell. But then dogs, with their ability to smell more at a time, they'd be able to catch it. So it's not.
I love it.
Yeah. So okay, that's my only nitpick. But go ahead.
No, that's good. That further explains my dog's behavior. So going on with the story here, it says researchers at the University of Helsinki have been training dogs to be able to detect COVID-19 in urine samples starting as early as 2020. So that's where they started with this training.
What a bad job.
Dogs. Now the dogs have been trained to detect COVID-19 from sweat, or more accurately, I would suggest, just generalized skin moisture, not just underarm perspiration, okay? So the dogs have been trained to detect COVID-19 from sweat or body moisture, skin moisture on our skin, and the research team has started trial testing of the dogs at the Helsinki airport. So stay tuned. This could be very helpful as perhaps a much more quick and much more accurate than just taking someone's forehead temperature with one of those, remote wand-like things.
Right. Dogs in so many applications, they're a pretty controversial one. But when it comes to the medical field like this, Ralph, I'm sure that, and Chris as well, I'm sure that you guys have seen those documentaries about dogs that can smell when their owner is about to have a seizure, or smell when there's moles that are cancerous, and like they'll ignore other moles, but they'll pay real close attention to particular moles. Little things like that. And dogs that aren't even trained to do that, they just kind of smell something different. And they're like a dog with a bone. So, and also to put this into perspective, a lot of these dogs were probably trained as puppies to detect that smell. And obviously, we haven't even known COVID-19 was the thing for a couple of years or a couple months now. Dogs that were that were just born, they're now on the workforce doing work. COVID's been here for quite a minute. So.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But I'm hoping, more dogs in the workplace. I'm all for that in so many ways. So, okay, story number 5, and we're making great time here. Story number 6. That was sarcasm. Story number 6. Clean energy. Never a bad thing.
At least, Ben, we've learned to warn the audience up front. We're never going to make it through all the stories. So that's okay. So this one comes from SciTech Daily and the Advanced Science Research Center as well. Headline, Harvesting Clean Energy from Water Evaporation. Morphing crystals convert evaporation energy into motion. Now, when I do my scanning, my exploration of web news stories and so forth, and all the science outlets and general news outlets and so forth, you can imagine that headline immediately just bong. I had to check this out. This is kind of a fun story. So, water evaporation is a remarkably powerful process. If it were harnessed, the process could provide a clean source of energy to power machines, mechanical energy we're talking about. Now, an international team of scientists led by researchers at the City College of New York has developed shape-shifting crystals that directly convert evaporation energy into powerful motions. Now, we're going to geek out here for a second to explain how this works. These water-responsive, shape-shifting crystals were created by using simple variants of biological building blocks known as tripeptides. Wait a minute, time out. What are tripeptides? The main function of tripeptides is cell communication, which means they provide a stable environment in which chemicals passing between cells can both travel to and arrive at their destination in a safe and quick way. These shape-shifting crystals are composed of three-dimensional patterns of nanoscale pores. Wow. When humidity is lowered and reaches a critical value, the water escapes from the nanoscale pores, leading to a powerful contraction of the shape-shifting crystals. Then apply humidity, and the shape-shifting crystals expand back to their original shape. This contraction and expansion process can be repeated over and over and gives rise to a remarkably efficient method for creating energy to perform mechanical work. And the beauty of these biological building blocks to create this new technology is the resulting motion generating crystals are biodegradable and cost effective to create. So this is real early on research, folks. This is not something that's going to be in your Amazon.com purchase list right away, but I just thought it was such an interesting idea of how can we create a biodegradable, replenishable, simple thing for powering mechanical devices.
Question.
Interesting.
Go for it.
How is this different than steam power?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because, well, steam power, you think about steam power, you have to have heat to create the steam to drive the piston, the basic premises. So you're going to have to be burning things or applying some kind of energy to heat the water, right? In this case, they're just talking about water vapor, non-heated, that just saturates to expand, or you drop the humidity. Now there's a good in fairness. If you're going to drop the humidity, how do you extract the humidity without also having some kind of energy source to do that? So you raise Carissa, that's a very fair point. And again, I stress this is very early.
Oh yeah, totally. I
thought
it was.
But that's a fair point. They must feel pretty encouraged that this could be something that certainly would cost less than a traditional water-based things such as a steam engine. So no, that was a good question.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe like when the water escapes the pores, maybe that what propels it up into the thing where it needs to move, and then it comes back down and then goes back in with cycles like that. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, they might also use a cyclic condensation approach. Perhaps. Right. Who knows? Yeah, those are great. That's a good one.
Well, and obviously when it says the humidity is lowered and reaches a critical value, the water escapes and it leads to a powerful contraction. So, but obviously, you can't just leave it in stasis and it just generates water and clean energy. You're good to go. You would have to continuously supply it with humidity. Right. Admittedly, there's a lot of humidity in the air around us. Depending on where you build this thing, it would be as simple as forcing air into a system like this. But Yeah, I would think that the more humidity you put in, the more energy and the more water you get out of it. And so there's probably diminishing returns and all that good stuff. Some people in the chat room are arguing that this sounds like perpetual motion, but no, I'm sure that the energy input is somehow getting the humidity into this mesh, into this system, and then you are able to extract it out the other side. Now, the whole question is, what is the conversion rate? Is it worth doing? And that's what they're trying to find out now. Yeah. But now they know they can do this, and that's the important part. So.
Yeah, it's a great example of scientific what if. It's a great, what if we could do this? What if we could do that? And the rest of the sentence, is it practical? Can it be made cost effective and so forth, is all TBD. But it's an interesting, curious premise for mechanical movement energy.
Exactly. So there's that one. The next one, story number 7, possible marker of life spotted on Venus. I recall this, and this was like a week or two ago, I think. We did not talk about this on the show, so I think we can revisit it. But it was a huge day because I think there was this one, and then there were large water bodies on Mars, which is a completely different story. But like within like a week of each other, they're like, oh, turns out other planets are pretty habitable. Not for us, but for things.
Well, possible. Yeah. So like it says, the headline, possible marker of life spotted on Venus. This comes from a press announcement from an outfit called the European Southern Observatory. And I didn't even know about them. It was kind of fun to learn about those folks. So here's the story. Recently, an international team of astronomers based at the European Southern Observatory, which is located in the nation of Chile, announced the discovery of a rare molecule, phosphine, in the clouds of Venus. Now, on Earth, this gas can be man-made industrially, or it can be produced by microbes that thrive in oxygen-free environments. Astronomers have speculated for decades that the high atmosphere clouds on Venus could offer a home for microbes floating free of the scorching surface, but needing to tolerate very high acidity. The detection of phosphine could point to such extraterrestrial aerial life. So thinking that microbes that survive in oxygen-free environments producing phosphine here on Earth. Is this phosphine that's in the clouds over Venus an indication of a similar microbe life, perhaps? TBD, it's all question mark. So more planned observations of Venus and of rocky planets outside our solar system is being planned by the European Southern Observatory's team, and this may help gather clues on how phosphine can originate on other locations on them and contribute to the search for signs of life beyond Earth. So it's just a fun early kind of discovery and could lead to something, and we'll all have to wait and see.
I'm hopeful that new space camera can take a picture of it.
There you go. I'm hopeful, and I was just kind of reading this article here. I'm trying to decipher. Ralph, do you know anything about Vegas betting odds?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Well, yeah, and I found this website here. Not this that was the review of the site. It was this site right here, and they essentially gave life on Mars betting odds. So if you'd like to go, you can go place your bet, and you have negative 350, and these are different companies between SpaceX, Blue Origin, Boeing, Space Force that will go to Mars first. There's others including will we be able to set foot on Mars by 2025? Oh my gosh! It looks like the bet.
It's only 5 years away. No way.
You can bet on anything.
That's where the betting man's money is. No, we will not be there in 5 years. But somewhere in Vegas, you can bet on whether or not there's life out there in the universe. So if you want to make it a little bit more personal, there you go. I'm hopeful. Ralph, what do you have any idea, Ralph? Because you're so smart. Do you have any idea what this could be? Like, do you think it's life?
Oh, the problem that's so for me over my lifetime, I've thought when we say, "Is there life someplace else?" Understandably, the only way we can wrap our heads around it is life as we know it.
Right.
Is it out there? There could be life redefined by other rules of a different kind of nature, okay? I'm badly phrasing it, but I think you get the gist of where I'm coming from. So it's for me, it's two questions. Is there life as we know it, like microbes that don't need oxygen that produce phosphine? Could that be someplace else? Maybe. That's a life form that we know from our world. But ask yourself, can there be, if we open up our mind about what is life, it may not only be what we know here, and it may not be an absolute. So that's the thing that's always kind of intrigued me.
It could be like a Nightmare Prometheus situation where this little goo monster gets into your brain and then you bring it back to Earth. So that could be dangerous too.
And it could just be a universe full of water bears, or what are water bears called? Tardigrades. Yes, it could just be a universe full of tardigrades, and we are just the humans in a wash in a sea of tardigrades. I don't know, but and of course, as I said in the chat room, life or intelligent life, I think life is at this point pretty much an absolute. At somewhere there's going to be single-celled life, or there's going to be very basic forms of life somewhere else in the universe. That's almost seems like a guarantee.
And one that will actually, for me.
Yeah, no, it's really viewpoint expanding. But then of course the question is, will it wave back to us when we wave? And that's where you can have your fun discussion. But
yes,
okay,
agree.
So it's time for like one or two more stories. And so we're going to do story number 8, and then we're going to skip around to some of our favorite stories. But story number 8, go for it.
Yes, this one, another one of these medical science. If Ben knows this, and Carissa, you'll find out as we continue to work together, medical science research and so forth, helping the disabled is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So story number 8, headline, researchers develop biometric hand prosthesis, I can never say that word, uniquely similar to a human hand.
This Can they give you a package deal getting the eyeball and the hand at the same time?
That would
be really great.
That would be good. This comes from Tech Explorer and a press release from an institute, Italian Institute for Technology. And they've got the link here. I've got a picture. We've got a video too that's really cool. So when I saw the video of this new amazing prosthetic hand, I immediately thought of the lifelike artificial hand and forearm that Luke Skywalker got after his battle with Dearest Daddy Darth Vader. We all know that epic battle scene, right? Okay, so researchers from the Italian Institute of Technology and Inali Prosthesis Center in Italy, and I hope I'm saying it actually looks like an acronym, INAIL, but I'll just say Inali, in Italy recently announced their ability to replicate the key biological properties of the human hand. Now, we've all seen many mechanical prosthetic hands before, but they claim they've really made a breakthrough here. They say the key properties include natural, synergistic, and adaptable movement. I think the adaptable movement's particularly telling. Biometric levels of force and speed.
Oh, it's a nice thumb.
And grasp responsiveness, or pardon me, grasp robustness. Yeah, you're watching the video, and it's very compelling, I think. Developed by a team of researchers, orthopedists, industrial designers, and patients. The prosthetic hand, called HANDS, HANNES, HANDS, is able to restore more than 90% of functionality to people with upper limb amputations. How cool is that? HANDS is a highly lifelike, polyarticulated, that's key, upper limb prosthetic system, including hand and wrist, whose main characteristics are softness and the ability to dynamically, that's the key word, ability to dynamically adapt to the shape of objects to grasp. It is uniquely similar to a human hand, they claim, and being developed directly with patients and has immediate practical use. Now, the last point I kind of gleaned from these articles, pilot trials on amputees to date have demonstrated that after a training period of less than 1 week, patients could autonomously use HANDS, the prosthetic, to successfully perform a wide range of daily life activities. And the video, friends, says it all. I mean, wow.
It looks so lifelike.
Isn't that something? I'm watching the video. I keep watching it over and over again. It's just very, very cool.
There was another article I remember us talking about where they had like, sensory, like fake skin. It was like a silicone skin layer that you could put on top of stuff too. So that would be like an interesting combination.
Yes. But gosh, look at that little scene we're watching right now. I mean, it just looks like, I don't know, from a distance you wouldn't realize, perhaps. I mean, there's a little bit of motion, but it's the most like life hand prosthetic I have ever seen.
Yeah, and of course the fact that there's not a lot of super complicated gadgetry that goes inside of it,
Right.
More accessible. Which thanks to 3D printing, which I'm sure that they used here,
Yes.
and, so much more. The cost of a prosthesis, I've even heard in some cases was like for a leg or a foot or something like that would be $25,000 for people's prosthesis. To bring that cost down and to really allow anyone to access it, super important. So Carissa, because it is Friday, this is my gift to you. Did you have a chance to look through the stories and see if you had one you wanted to discuss?
I didn't. I was kind of focusing on what we were talking about because it was all
Okay.
super interesting.
I rescind my gift. My gift now goes back to me. And Ralph, I actually found. I thought we'd end on something a little bit lighter than saving the world the world's electricity supply, or curing the uncurable. Story number 10. It's a little bit more down to earth.
Yes, this is for the home theater goof in me. By the way, my reviewer's handle on Amazon.com is Home Theater Hermit. Not that I do a lot of reviews, but when I do, that's my handle. So this one's dear to my heart.
Actually, before we even get into that, I do want to make one comment because we talked about the Ralph. I don't know if you saw I think there were leaks of the latest iPhone and some of the features that was going to have. Some people in the chat room, they were talking. Well, it was Unpicky Eater again, but talking about scanning people and kind of scanning their limbs to make better prosthesis and that kind of thing. The next iPhone is going to have LiDAR built into it. So that's going to be for measuring things and taking very crude maps, but much more detailed than you would ever get through a camera. Scanning things, and obviously the iPhone, that's still a very expensive piece of equipment, but it's in everybody's kind of hands. So scanning is going to become super easy to do. Now, with that being said,
so cool.
Let's talk about the giant TV that most people's homes are like. Good luck finding even a wall that can fit a 130-inch TV. This thing's massive.
Well, what this is a projector, okay? So that's for, it really is for the home theater nuts. So the headline is Samsung announces a 130-inch 4K TV powered by lasers, lenses, and lumens. And the TV part of the headline is unintentionally misleading. It's not a flat panel. It is a projector. And it's what they call a short throw projector. And it's not that this is the first short throw projector. If you look at the picture, folks, in the show notes, you see the little projectors down there at the bottom of the screen on a little box.
And there's no frame or anything.
There you go. Yeah. And it's just throwing the image up. So that hence short throw projector. And that's very, very nice. Because in my home theater, I have a screen and I have my projector set up, but it's hanging from a pole apparatus and armature from the ceiling and all this kind of good stuff. And I have it set up so I get about maybe 110, I think about 110 diagonal. So it's pretty close to the size of what you're seeing there in the image that Samsung produced. But I just thought it caught my eye because I'm kind of a home theater nut, and I thought this was interesting. So here's a story. Recently, Samsung announced an all-new home theater projector that uses ultra short throw laser technology, hence the ability to put the little box right at the base of the wall there, as you see, to create an image measuring up to 130 inches. It's called the Premier. It delivers 4K resolution and a peak brightness of 2,800 lumens, which is bright for a projector in the world of projectors. But let's be honest, it's dimmer than a medium and high-end TV today. Ultra short throw projectors are designed to sit close to the wall or screen, as opposed to shooting across a room like a traditional projector, like the one I describe I have in my home theater. The Premier uses laser light engines, which do away with costly replaceable lamps. Hallelujah. And let me tell you, my projector, I love it to death. I've had it for, 6 or 7 years, but it runs hot. Mm-hmm. And if the bulb goes out, I'm looking at like $300 or something to replace the bulb. Yeah. So it's sucking energy like crazy. It's putting out heat. and these laser produced or laser based projection units like the Samsung here. And again, that's very common. It's not new to Samsung. Our wonderful friends, if you're thinking about a projector for your home theater, please, please, please stay away from anything that's a bulb, a traditional bulb. Anyway, so it uses laser light engines, do away with costly replaceable lamps. Samsung didn't announce pricing for this product called the Premier, but did say it would be available later this year. So that's got to be coming up pretty soon, starting in the United States, Europe, and Korea. So interesting. I would love to see this thing in action. I would love to see what it looks like in a room as they show in the picture where you haven't fully darkened the room. How well it does in terms of brightness. So that would be the question that I'd have.
Music means that we're done. Unfortunately, I'm glad that we kind of got to most of this. I will say that with a projector, if anyone out there is interested, Ralph, you said you have a home theater, so you know this. As much daylight as you can block out, it's going to help you a lot. And then there's also reflective paint or screens that you can put up that will actually help brighten the image as well. So, make sure it's projected onto the proper surface. These things will help. But hey, it's still a projector, and for the low cost of $6,500, hey, you can have a 130-inch TV. Still very, very cool. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. Thank you for tuning into the radio program, everyone. And hey, Ralph, thank you for joining us. I hope you had fun as well.
Always a blast, buddy.
All right, perfect. So everyone out there, and Carissa, we'll see you back, everyone, Tuesday, Monday we will have off. We'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.